Rahim, welcome to Always Real Talk.
How you doing, Kwame? Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey man, thank you for
I
taking
appreciate
time
you inviting me
to
here to
come
speak.
on the show. I want to jump right into it. You are, from Washington D.C. You graduated, I think, from the School Without Walls here as a
Yes.
D.C. public school graduate and a native Washingtonian. We hear so much of everyone else that's coming from all over the world, all over the country, that's been protesting everywhere. I want to talk to one of us, right? As a native Washingtonian, a graduate of DC Public School myself, I know, you and my son, he speaks very highly of you. Tell me about your experience as a local involved in the movement.
Well, my experiences here in DC have been it's been both good and bad because I've had great experiences through networking and meeting people. So in DC we have a really strong network of people fighting for the same cause. So being in Washington DC is great because we're pretty progressive. So most people out here are supportive of the movement. But in terms of being met with police tension and aggravation, that's been the bad part, and that's been a cause way before protests, and we've been highly policed in our communities for doing pretty much nothing. So being from DC, it's important that I speak out and I say something about it. And it's not even just MPD that's causing harm in our communities. It's housing authority, it's transit, it's a whole rack of different police forces in DC, and they're all a part of the same problem.
Right. And now you are how old are you, Rahim?
I'm 20 years old.
Okay. And when did you first start getting involved in this movement?
So, well, pretty much, I've always been outspoken on issues that concern power, both like in my household, my schools, my job, anywhere, and that's been since I was a child. So I've always been pretty, pretty voiced when it comes to speaking up for change. And when it comes to this movement in particular, I got involved on, I think it was May 28th when I did the first protest, and it was only 15 people out there. And the reason I got so heavily involved is because Fox 5 did an interview with me. So because of that, I took that as a sign that, wow, it's only 15 people out here, but we had such an impact that Fox 5 wants to talk to me. So I took that as a sign and I said, okay, I got to keep going. So I kept going and now I'm here. So that's how I got involved
And,
in the
and let's
movement.
back that up. I mean, when this protest first started, and I want to be clear, the protest was down on 16th Street. Is that correct?
The first protest,
Yes. When,
yeah, the first protest took place well, it was on May 28th, and it was at Freedom Plaza, and we
right.
marched from Freedom Plaza all up around the city up to U Street, and we walked back down to Freedom Plaza, and then there was a second day of protest that happened at the White House. That was the
r-
second big protest. There was about 1,500 people out there.
Right. And the first one was 15 people, then you had 1,500 people. So you've been at this from the beginning, and you've been one of the local voices that's been down there really in this movement. I remember my son mentioned to me early on, he was like, yeah, my man, he's the one that's down there right now leading it. So he was always, talking to his friends about, who's going down there and so forth and so on. I want to get a sense of, you know, what are the top three things that you and the folks are calling for right now?
Okay, so right now we're calling for a defunding of the police by at least $30 million. So there was a budget increase of I believe like 18 million, and they decided to cut 15 million from that increase. So it was still like a $2 million increase for MPD, but we want that cut by at least $30 million. Two, we want that money that's cut from the police to be reallocated to services like homelessness, mental health, jobs, and things like that. And three, we want to end qualified immunity for police officers.
And I want to walk through that. First, because when I hear defund the police and when others hear defund the police, it makes it say that, so, well, let me say this. Some people say when you say defund the police and the protesters saying defund police, you just want to get rid of the Metropolitan police department and get rid of all police in general. That's not what you're saying. Is that correct?
Not right now. Not today. That won't work today because we currently live in an environment where it's necessary. So we can't just overnight wake up and there's no more police. So if we do want to take it to the point where there's no more police, it'll be a process. And the start of that process is the defunding process.
Right. Well, when you say, because you and I talked before a couple days ago, and when we talked about defunding the police, you were saying the first thing is to reallocate the resources into areas that actually could be more effective and more efficient, right? And that's your
Correct.
point of saying there was an increase in the police department budget. You guys think that increase should be reallocated in better areas that could be more effective and efficient, which keeps the police intact, but help them help them in better ways by making that money efficient in other areas. Was that your point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then your point number two, that was your point number one and your point number two. Is that correct?
So yeah, I guess that was the same. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to do is keep it, because see, people try to cloud it, right, and say, oh, these people want it, because I talked to you and I was like, look, I'm not trying to get rid of all the police. When I dial 911 and someone's breaking, I want someone to come, right? If somebody's, carjacking, my daughter, my wife, or something, and I need the police to come. Somebody's in my yard, I need the police to come, and I think you feel the same way. Grandma needs to. She picks up the phone and calls the police. Someone should come, right? So we don't want to
she calls me
where people aren't safe.
I hope she calls me before she calls the police, though.
Yeah, true.
Somebody breaking into her house.
Right?
I hope she called me.
Right. How about now? Look, now this is real talk, right? I call you, I might not get you. Grandma ain't gonna text. She might not have time to text you, but Grandma knows 911. Everyone knows 911. They can hit that with no problems at all. And I'm pretty sure that you would want to make sure that your parents and your grandparents and your aunties, that they're safe, right? That's the first thing, is that they're safe. And we need to have some police department that make them safe. Now, we want them to be effective. We want them to be efficient. We want them to be respectful. We want them to follow the law. And we don't want them to kill us, right? But we do think that there's a need for the police at this time. Is that what you're saying, or is that what you're not saying?
I mean, nah, like not completely, not 100% what you're saying, but most of it, like, you got it pretty much right. The only thing that I would say, I personally don't think that Rahim needs the police. I don't need the police. I mean, if you need the police and if other people need the police, that's good for them. But Rahim, I personally do not want to ever have to call the police. And if I do, I don't know what I'd be calling the police about. But there is other people in our society, like women who are at risk more than me. So they may need police in times where I would never have to call the police. So it's a different life that we live in.
But me
as a young man, but me as a young black man, I would not call the police.
And I understand that. But I also think I hear you say that there are people that do need the police. You might not need them for what they need them for. And I know I talked to a lot of people who say defund the police, and we're getting it a little bit confused, because some people are just labeling you and others as someone who wants to get rid of, have no police department ever. And there are some people that agree with some of the stuff you're saying, but they don't agree with getting rid of the police entirely right now.
No, we can't get rid of the police entirely right now. It won't work. It won't work because we're already conditioned to having police. So we can't just wake up and there's no police tomorrow. That won't work. It won't work like that at all.
So you're saying over a period of time, if you reallocate the resources correctly and other things are changed in society, there could be a time where the police is not needed, because there'll be things that take care of other issues, right?
Exactly. And that's the most optimistic view of it.
And I think that's clear. I think because that, could make sense to a lot of people. But what happens is you have a group of people who are just labeling you and others as they just want to get rid of all the police right now, and there'll be no police on the streets. And that's not what you're saying. You're saying, hey, if there are other things that's put in place over a period of time, there may be a need where we don't need the police, and that's when we can get rid of them. But not tomorrow. You're not saying get rid of all the police tomorrow off the street.
It won't work like that. Like it'll be great if that happened, but society will need time to adjust to that.
Right. So there we go. I want people to know that you're a realist, right? You're aggressive. You have a plan.
Oh yeah.
You have a real plan, but someone is not saying let's get rid of police tomorrow. So I want to move on to there are a couple other things because I know you have the defund MPD mask on. Thank you for wearing your mask and supporting keeping the mask on. I'm inside, so I don't have a mask on. But I want to go right into, you and I had several conversations about this is a broader than just MPD. We have the transit authority that is out of control, right? In terms of how
yes.
you've been, you're 20, so you've been in public schools yourself, and they are just terrible to the school kids that are riding the metro. They just treat them with the utmost disrespect, and people ignore it because sometimes they think kids can be kids. But do you have any experiences with the metro, the transit police that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I've had a few experiences with transit. Like, it's been many times where I was in school and my metro card, the DC1 card, didn't work. So I had to walk through the gate, and I would try to talk to the people, and the station manager let me go through the gate, but the transit officers wouldn't even be knowing that the station manager let me go through the gate, and they assume that I'm just running through the gate. But I've already got permission to walk through the gate from the station manager. And because I'm a young black kid going through the gate, or a young school kid with a book bag, you automatically assume that I'm up to no good. So you start harassing me when I've already gotten permission to walk through this exit. So that's been a time and that has happened many times. And I've been like written up. I've gotten a $50 little ticket thing from transit before. Yeah. Transit is very disrespectful, and they target black and brown kids in DC, and they target the poor kids. They target everybody who's pretty much not white rich people.
Now, how do they determine that you are that you are not a rich kid? I mean, because some of these kids are walking around, they got on the latest everything. I mean, you wouldn't know that just by looking at them that they could, maybe live in public housing.
It's energy. Like it's a completely different vibe where you come from. You can wear the nicest clothes in the world, but it's energy. And especially in this city, like everybody in this city, Washington D.C., you know who you address, and 9 times out of 10, you can hear it in the tone of their voice, or you can look at by the way they walk. You know a lot about them based off that. Right.
And so you are calling for the end immunity for police officers. Is that correct?
Yes.
And does that include, because one of the things I always have a issue is everyone wants to get rid of immunity for the police officers, MPD and others, but when it comes to the Metropolitan Transit Authority, those police officers, they have the ultimate immunity, right? You can't do anything to them because of the compact that's made up of Maryland, DC, and Virginia has basically said that you can't touch them. That means they can do anything they want to you. They can abuse you. They can beat you. They can lock you up. They can basically kill you, and nothing could happen to you. I mean, you are also including them in that round of people that should get immunity taken away.
Of course. Okay. Of course. Like right now, we're focused on MPD because that's the bigger police force, and that's like all over the city. But there's no police force that's safe from our protests. There's no police force safe from our protests. None.
Okay. So you said no one is safe from the protests.
No. And that goes for politicians too.
Okay. Now
we need to hold our politicians accountable.
Okay, well let's go there, right? You're in DC, you're a native Washingtonian. You now are saying that, hey, we want to hold everyone accountable that's responsible for making us safe, for protecting our interests and protecting our people. Are you and your group, are you guys involved in any politics that are local? Are you guys going to get involved in the 2020 election right here in Washington, D.C.?
We are currently discussing that. So as we speak, as people texting me in the group chat, trying to get that sorted out of if we want to support any political candidates or things like that.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a lot of them, of course, on our show, and we'll love to get questions that you guys want to ask them and get you maybe in the studio with us asking some of these candidates these questions that's important to you and your group. Now, as it relates to the 2020 election, presidential election, are you guys getting involved in that from helping get out the vote or supporting any particular candidates, or at least talking about the issues that are important, holding candidates that are talking about these issues? What are you guys doing nationally to try to make a difference to help your cause?
So we haven't really expanded nationally yet. Right now we're focusing on Washington, D.C., but for me personally, when it comes to nationwide things like presidential elections, I would just always say, well, in 2016, Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote, but she still lost the election. So when I speak to people nationwide, I want them to understand that we're playing in a much bigger system, in a much bigger ball game than we even realize it, because you can vote for whoever, but the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, either way, like it's still nothing is really changing for real. So it's time for us to unionize as a people outside of the government and just unionize as a people, as citizens, and start working together and take back our government, because currently the people in office, they don't really represent what we stand for. So we got Trump and Biden running for president, and Biden has said he's not going to defund the police, and we know, of course, Donald Trump won't. So so we have two options who are not going to give us what we want. So who are we supposed to support? And then there's people who go out there and say, well, if you don't vote, that's a vote for Trump. And it's like, you can't say that, because that's not true. I can't force people to vote for Joe Biden just because we want to get Trump out of office. Because if they don't support everything that Joe Biden stands for, why should they vote for him?
Well, let me ask you a question. You do believe in voting, though? Is that correct?
Yeah, of course I believe in voting. But what?
And you support, and you guys are encouraging people to vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, you should vote. If you feel fit, you should vote. I encourage you to vote if you feel fit. I don't encourage you to vote if you don't see a candidate that you want to support. Don't support them then.
So I got another question for you, because this is always real talk. So is your suggestion for people, let's just say hypothetically, and this is hypothetically, so people don't call me, don't email me, don't tweet me, don't do all this stuff. Hypothetically, if I didn't see a candidate, neither candidate that I liked, you would be fine with me just not voting for president and just moving on down to the next, column and voting for Congressman Norton?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with me. That's your business. Like, I feel like we have the right to vote. We you know what I'm saying? So we're not forced to do it. We have the right to vote, and we have the right not to if we don't want to vote.
Right, but there's a lot of people who fought very hard for the right to vote. So you should make a choice whether you don't like either candidate, but you like one more than the other. You have to check the box, right? You have to check a box. You can't skip a box. Now you can. It's your right to skip a box. It's your right not to vote. That's not what I support. I think that everyone should vote. Now, I know that you're saying, and others may be saying that, hey, we just don't have a candidate we believe in. We don't believe in either one of them, but we definitely already know that one is not going to do what we want them to do, and the other, we believe, probably not going to do it either. But I want to encourage you, because as a, from a brother to another brother, at least go in there and vote. Like, don't not vote. So if you're out there, I'm always saying, vote. Go in that booth, and vote for someone. I didn't expect you to agree 100% with me, but I gotta put it out there.
Nah, well, yeah, that's great, but like, we can vote all day long, but it's really up to people, and that means black people, white people, Latino people, whoever, anybody in this country, anybody in this world. It's up to us to look inside of ourselves. That goes for both government workers, non-government workers. It's up to us to look inside ourselves and start changing how we go about our day-to-day lives. Because in order for us to affect change in this country, we need to first affect change in our own lives. So we can't expect our country to move forward or develop in a direction that's positive if we're personally still going in the opposite direction. Because we're gonna keep having elections every 4 years. It's gonna be an election, but everything is gonna stay the same. Because if the hearts and the minds of the people is the same, why would the country change? It won't.
Well, let me say this.
It's much bigger than voting. It's much bigger than politics. It's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's much bigger than politics. Like when I protest, I'm not just protesting for politics. I'm protesting for people to understand that they have power. They have a voice. They have reason to be here. We were all born for a reason. We're all here to to make a change or do whatever. Just you know, just don't be here doing absolutely nothing or being a part of a larger problem.
Absolutely. Let me just say that how proud I am of you guys are just and you of leading this charge and just the next generation taking a hold and moving this conversation forward. I like the fact that you're free of thought. I like the fact that it's bigger than politics. I like the fact that you're moving into, hey, we're gonna do what's right. We're gonna do what's right for the average person that's out there just trying to make it happen, trying to feed their family. We would think it should be fair. We think it should be equitable. I applaud you. I applaud you for being out there from day one. When a lot of people were, laughing at the first 15 people that are out there protesting, and next thing you know, there's 1,500 people. Next thing you know, there's hundreds of thousands of millions of worldwide of people doing what they do. So I want to say hats off to you. And I know that we may not agree on everything, and I think it's just maybe a generational thing. But I think your heart is in the right place, right? There's some people I don't agree with, and their heart is not in the right place, right? So I know that they're just going to be bad, right? Even though I disagree with them. But with you, I think we're pretty much there. I think over time, I was listening to you, and we were talking, and because I was like, why would you want to defund the police? Like, we need some police. Like, it just wasn't realistic to me. And then when I spoke to you, and you said, hey, I know it's not realistic, but I think that we need to move in a direction where we're trying to fix society. And if we fix society, then we're not going to need to keep spending more and more and more money on the police department. When we fix the ills of society, then we'll be less dependent on the police department. And that's very optimistic. And that's what we need, that type of thought process saying that, yes, we can get there. Some people gave up. And they don't think that we can get there, and that's why we have more and more police officers, right? Because they say we need it for crime, we need it for all this other stuff, but we're not tackling the roots of why we need the police. And that's what you guys are out there protesting about. And I wanted to make sure you had a chance to put that on the record, because I'm tired of people saying, oh, those young folks, they don't know what they're talking about. All they want to do is defund the police. They don't take time to talk to you, to understand what you guys are really trying to get accomplished and how we can help get that message out. Now, how can people get involved? If they want to get involved, they're watching the program and they be like, you know what? I'm trying to find out more. I know. How can they get involved? I know we can get you at HECTICHEEM. It's on the screen. Y'all see it right there. It's on the screen.
Yes.
You can get in contact with him there. How else can they get in contact with folks in the movement?
Or you can get in contact. You can follow Occupy DC 202 on both Instagram and Twitter. Occupy DC 202. That's the organization that I'm a part of. So, and that's what we do, all the protests. We post everything about the protests. We have a link in our bio with all our donation links. But if you're at home, you can get involved. If you can't come out here, you can just donate, or you can pretty much get supplies, because we get tear gas and pepper spray. So we wear goggles, we wear gloves, we wear long sleeve shirts, and we need medical supplies and things like that, and lots of water because it's pretty hot out here. But that's the way to get involved. And another way to get involved is to just it's not just about protesting. Like I said earlier, like, you can make a change in your household. You can make a change by having simple conversations every day. When you see an opportunity to make a change, do it. Make a change. Like, if you see something that's wrong, no matter if it's about the police, like, we need to move past holding everyone else accountable and start holding ourselves accountable for the lives that we're living. So when you see something that's wrong, speak up, try to stop it, but don't put yourself in harm's way. But try to make a change in your community. That's the best way to get involved, because those small changes that we make in our communities end up changing the entire world.
Well, there you have it. We have Hakeem, Washington, D.C., part of the Occupy D.C. Once again, at Occupy D.C. That's if you want to get involved and you want to be able to donate, whether it's water, whether it's goggles, whether it's whatever they need. All you have to do, check it out. The link will be on the screen for you to see. Check them out. Get involved. As you would say, Rahim, do something, right?
Yes, do something.
All right, Rahim, thank you very much, man, for being in the studio. Thank you for all you do. We're going to get you back in a little while to tell us what you think, how things are going. And, hey, once again, it's always real talk. You know.
All right. Thank you, Kwame. Thank you. Hey. I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.